Hi, everybody. Welcome to Grab Your Keys. We have been on a little bit of a sabbatical, but we are back, and I am super excited to have Mike Maddock here. He is a serial entrepreneur with his latest venture being the founder of Flourish Advisory Boards, and I cannot wait to hear a little bit about that. So, Mike, welcome to Grab Your Keys.
Thanks, Sue. Good to be here.
Tell me a little bit how you're a serial entrepreneur and what your latest venture is.
Yeah, so I started businesses like many entrepreneurs in high school. I just wanted some money meant freedom. So to get money in my pocket, I started doing a lawn care, snow shoveling. And then I had a bunch of jobs in high school. And serendipitously, I worked for entrepreneurs. So early days, my first jobs were all watching entrepreneurs kind of fail forward. And it gave me the courage that someday maybe I could do it myself. So my first year out of college, I started a company called Maddock Douglas. That was many decades ago, and it was an innovation consulting firm, is an innovation consulting firm, and since then I've started 6 other businesses. The
Wow,
latest is Flourish. Yeah.
what do you love about starting businesses? What do you love to see about the businesses during their fruition? How and tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so I will tell anybody that cares to listen that I'm a really great starter and a terrible finisher. I think it takes a different set of skills to envision something and be silly enough to actually think you can do it than it does to take an idea that's up and running and scale it. So um, I'm a good starter and lousy finisher. And I think one of the challenges that most business leaders have is to understand when the superhero power that got them here won't get them to the next level, and go looking for a an advisory board, a partner, an executive team, et cetera, that helps complement their weaknesses. And that really is why I started Flourish Advisory Boards.
Yeah, that's great. Tell us a little bit about what Flourish Advisory Boards does.
Okay, so I test leaders. All the leaders in Flourish are P&L owners. So I have a group that the average revenue is $600 million, and these are the CEOs running that company. And then I have groups as small as the average revenue being about $5 million. In every group, there's at least one of 6 different types of CEOs or partners or P&L leaders. There is an operator, there's a strategist, there's a rainmaker, there's a visionary, there's a tech futurist, and there's an orchestrator. There's also a coach, a moderator, and an executive coach in each group. They're run virtually. Most of the time, we get together once a year in person. But the whole thesis was that if you have 6 different types of lenses to see your biggest challenges through, you'll get unstuck more quickly, because we're all a bunch of hammers looking for a nail. And so if you're a rainmaker, everything's about sales. Well, what if it's not? What if it's about operations or your team or et cetera? So having peers who can say, yeah, I had a similar issue, but I saw it differently. Have you ever considered this? Is how great leaders learn to get unstuck more quickly.
So you have leaders in forums
Yep.
of 6, and I'm going to talk the entrepreneurs organization a little bit, and you speak Gestalt, which means that you speak from experience only, so that you're not being the ego in the room, saying my way is the only way, and this is how I did it. You're saying from my experience, I learned that this really worked, which is a fabulous way of communicating with others.
That's right. So another way to say it is don't shit on me. Nobody likes to be shit on. And I've been involved. I'm glad you brought up EO. Entrepreneurs Organization is just an amazing organization. I've been in my EO forum, my second one now, for 23 years. Young Presidents Organization, I've been in my second YPO forum for over 15 years. So I love forums. I think every leader should be in one. The challenge is they're typically not very intentional, which is to say, if you throw a whole bunch of ingredients into a pot of soup and hope it tastes good, usually doesn't. It's too salty or too sweet. What I'm doing is I'm picking the ingredients. so that there's the right variety of different thinkers, and I'm mixing those together. And then there's a professional moderator and a professional coach to kind of herd the cats, because as CEOs, we're used to being in control,
Right.
and we don't like to waste time. So having someone that can run a really tight, efficient meeting to get to the most critical issues more quickly is so important to our members.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I have been in the Entrepreneurs Organization since 2011. And not near a serial entrepreneur, such as yourself, but I ran a mortgage company, was CEO of a mortgage company for a long period of time. And then I merged with a much larger company in 2018. And in 2013 did the forum-like experience in groups in a collaborative mortgage setting. And it was pretty difficult to herd the cats at times and to have them understand how you do it. So I love how you have tweaked it and put a little bit of your special sauce in that. Sounds really exciting. So since you've been a serial entrepreneur, what do you feel your 3 keys to success have been?
Well, I guess number one would be being grateful. I was blessed with a mother who would always go, "Isn't it great? Isn't this great?" And that would be during a thunderstorm when we were out of food, when like all the things, she found a way to talk about how great it was.
That's
And
great.
so she developed gratefulness. And I've really worked on that. And my experience has been that grateful people are happier, they're more inventive. Life is just better if you're grateful. So number one, and if I had a magic wand and could give my kids 2 things, it would be self-esteem and gratefulness.
Oh, wow, great.
Things. Number 2 is focusing on your strengths. I think that focusing on weaknesses is, for all kinds of reasons, a bad strategy. It would be like telling Steph Curry that he needs to be better at layups when he's this incredible 3-point shooter. If you're really good at something, be really good at that, and surround yourself with partners, advisors, friends that you trust enough to help you with your weaknesses, but not let them do that. You can on your strengths. And finally, just from a business perspective, picking the right wave is so important. You mentioned mortgages. My God, at some point you probably felt like the most brilliant business person in the world, and 3 years later, you felt like the worst one. A surfer can pick a lousy wave and look like they don't know how to surf. A surfer can pick a great wave and look like the best surfer in the world. Business people are the same way. It's really critical that if we're going to spend make something our life's work, we ought to pick something worthy of our time and something that the world is interested in receiving from us. So picking the right wave is great.
Yeah, I will agree with that, everything that you're saying. And I want to dive into a couple of them. If you don't mind, I have a few questions, but I agree with you on the mortgage thing. And so funny how people's perception is so different. When I merged companies, and I pretty much handed over the keys to the candy store in 2018 before COVID. And then we hit like the refinance boom of lowering and lowering and lower rates. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, how upset are you that you pretty much bailed?" And I was like, "Oh, everything's 2020. I'm like, this is awesome. Like my mortgage company couldn't have handled this. Like the God was shining a light on me." And I mean, I know everyone feels that the cash registers were just open for business, and we were helping a lot of families save a lot of money during a really difficult time. But my mid-size mortgage company would not have had the warehouse line, would not have had the staff. My loan officers, my clients, my customers would have all been mad because I was not moving fast enough, as fast as they wanted me to, and having to have worked from a remote location at that. So being grateful for, what happened and picking the right wave at the right time, and then owning that wave and being
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is the one I'm riding on, and it doesn't make a difference what happens. Like, I'm gonna own my decision and not look in the rearview mirror of what you said, focus forward, not look in the rearview mirror of, oh, woulda, shoulda, coulda. Owning the decision that you chose, and knowing that God or whoever you believe in is taking you into the right light. And those were the choices you've made. When I have two children also, and when they leave, I say, make good choices. So make good choices. So, and if you make a bad choice, we're gonna have to live by it and figure it out. But and we've done those too. So, because I'm a 24-year-old today, so happy birthday, Drew. I don't know, not sure when this will air, probably tomorrow, but or next week. So, but being grateful, I do agree. And I love what you said, being a mom myself. I love what you said about your mom, about like, isn't this great? I do think that we tend to hear our parents' words as we get older, and whether they have a positive light, or a positive voice, or a mindset of half full or half empty, and how we harness life on that, and how we pave it forward with our children. Like, how do you feel you as a dad have taken that isn't it great adage of your mom of being grateful, and instilled that in your children?
Well, I think the seeds of gratefulness are planted early, and nothing makes me happier than one of my kids during, when the clouds open up and we're getting soaked, they turn to me and say, "This is awesome. Isn't this great?" I mean,
Yeah.
because, they recognize that you need the rain to appreciate the sunshine. So, yeah, I think that, I'm not sure how. Let me see. Your son Drew is 24 years old today. Happy birthday, Drew.
Oh, thanks.
As soon as your son has his own children, God willing, you're going to be brilliant. I mean, I like to say that when the flower is ready, it takes the water. And so often we will hear a speaker and go, meh, and a speaker and go, meh. And then we'll see that same speaker 10 years later and go, oh my gosh, that is so brilliant. We weren't ready to, it wasn't the speaker, it was us being ready to accept the wisdom. So I guess my encouragement for leaders and parents is plant the seeds and water them. And when the seed is ready, or when the flower is ready to bloom, it will. I think leadership is like that. You're always being watched. You're always being listened to, and you just don't really understand. Most of us never really understand the impact we're having.
Right.
Sometimes we get lucky, and someone comes back and says, "You said this thing or did this thing." But
and isn't that great as a leader? I know that as leaders, it's amazing when you get lucky and you have someone who says, "Yeah, Mike, Sue, Chris, you changed my life."
yeah,
And not only did you change my life, but you changed my family's life. And that's like as leaders, that's just a great thing to have. And as parents, that's a great thing to have. I love hearing my children's the words of mine come out of their mouth sometimes. And you can't be like, "Oh, I said that," because then they'll never say it again. But you can listen and you can be like, "That sounds a lot like me." And as they get older, you're right. You can see through the looking glass practically. But that's right. We are, as leaders, we are super lucky to have that and be grateful for it also.
Yeah, I do a fair amount of speaking because of the books I've written about entrepreneurship and innovation and disruptors and blah 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 blah. And I got a call from D41, which is the school district that my children attended in grade school and high school, and they asked me. They were having a conference with all the teachers in D41. So picture 400 or 500 teachers in a room. And one of the greatest days of my life was being on stage and asking if my son, my oldest son's fifth grade teacher, was in the audience. And she was. And I asked her to stand up, and crying from stage, I got to tell her the impact she'd made on our oldest son.
That's awesome.
And that moment for me, being able to say, hey, you made this difference. Eventually he'll tell you, but I'm going to tell you right now that seed you planted in fifth grade has blossomed, and he gives you credit for it. It was an amazing moment, because I think that all of us are so thirsty to for significance and to make a difference. And when you can learn while you're still walking on the right, or you're still on the right side of the dirt, that you've made an impact. Oh my gosh, it's such a great gift. So
it is a great gift.
Yeah.
So focus on your strengths. And you're totally preaching to the choir on that one. I say that the reason that I have been so successful is I know the things I'm not good at. I'm a big picture girl, and I like the details. I'm like, I don't like them that much. So, but you need details. So, how do you know, like, do you take a disc? Like, how would others know what their strengths are? I mean, I know what my disc is, but I know I need lots of S's and C's, which you know the disc, I'm speaking.
Me too. Yeah.
But how do you as a leader know what your strengths are and know how to focus on the right strengths? So I'm just kind of diving into those keys just a little bit.
Yeah. So I, like you probably, I'm a junkie for Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and Strength Finders, et cetera, because I really want to understand the teams around me and how they feel strong, like what it is that makes them feel strong every day. And for Flourish Advisory Boards, I rely on the Kolbe. The 6 seats, Kolbe can point to 4 of them just squarely. Like if I can look at a Kolbe and see the pattern, I can tell which seat, again, the operator, the strategist, the rainmaker, the visionary, the tech futurist, the orchestrator, which one of those seats you run to when you're under pressure, or you retreat to when you're having the best day of your life. So Kolbe is how I do it. If people are interested, I actually put up an 8-question survey on flourishadvisoryboards.com, and you can answer the 8 questions, and it'll give you an indication of which one of those 6 seats you sit in. It's not perfect, but it's directional. And that's where I start.
I love that. And then we already spoke a little bit of the right wave. You had spoken a little bit that you've written some books. If people want to find those books, what books are they? And where should they look them up?
Well, you can go on Amazon and get any of them. Let's see, the first book is called Brand New: Solving the Innovation Paradox. It's kind of a process book. Mm-hmm. The innovation paradox is the harder we try to innovate, the worse we get at it. And that was based on a bunch of research and work that we've done for 25% of the Fortune 500, helping them launch new products. The second book was called Free the Idea Monkey, to focus on what matters most. That's about the collision between visionaries and operators, idea monkeys and ringleaders. The third book is called Flirting with the Uninterested.
I love that.
Which is about innovating in a sold not bought category like insurance. It explores the idea of, if you're telling yourself that you have something your customers need, but they're not thinking they need it, there's an opportunity there for you to flip the script that'll help you be more desirable and launch new products that your customers actually demand. And my latest book is called Plan D. It's about disruptors, and it explores the 8 superhero powers of business disruptors and tells you how to hack them. I'm working on another book right now about solving problems, but I'll put that, I won't.
What do you feel the biggest business disruptor is right now?
I think the biggest business disruptor is government. Is that the question? I want to make sure I heard that correctly.
No, I was saying, what do you feel is the biggest business disruptor right now?
Yeah, I look what happened when there was a global pandemic. Look how many things that were impossible happened almost immediately overnight. So, people typically innovation is hard. It takes a lot of courage. It costs money, and people are afraid of change. I might lose my job. What if I can't do it? Blah, blah, blah. So when you have something that forces that change immediately, all of a sudden, all kinds of things are possible. It's kind of like, Sue, if you said, well, I don't know what the idea is. I said, oh, I've got $10 million. What would you do with $10 million? You'll have lots of ideas because you have these everyone has this like, well, we can't afford it. We can't do this. The boss won't like it. When there's a global pandemic, you don't have any choice. And it typically in a recession or when the government makes a decision, all of a sudden, all kinds of innovation is possible. AI is an absolute game changer when it comes to innovation.
Right.
And the reason is, unlike a big word like innovation where no one really knows what it means, AI allows you to rapidly prototype and literally come up with ideas in hours that are testable. And so it's not some intangible thing. You can make something tangible almost immediately.
Right.
I think AI is the best brainstorming partner I've ever met.
Yes, we use AI. I thought you were going to say that so I am intrigued by you saying government. I'm on the same page with that, but I thought you were going to say AI. So
Yeah.
if I like to guess what my people are going to say, the people I'm interviewing are going to say. It's like a little game I play with myself.
Yeah,
So,
I think specifically generative AI has the most usefulness right now because, oh my gosh, it just blows my mind, all the possibilities with it. And I'm watching. Here's what I'm seeing. So I have these CEO groups, and in the larger companies, they're kind of like, what should we do with this? And they're thinking about it. In the smaller companies, they're just doing stuff. Right. They're just like, entrepreneurs are about making 10 mistakes before big companies think about making the first one. So their unfair competitive advantage is rapid prototyping. Like they'll just try. They have less to lose, more to gain. So they just rapidly prototype ideas. And AI is like a 10x formula for that. So instead of 10 ideas, now they've got 100 ideas in play.
Right.
So, and here's a hot take. I actually think that America, for the time being, has an unfair competitive advantage when it comes to AI because culturally we embrace failure. And in, for example, Asian countries, if you fail, you're oftentimes shaming your family. Right. It's, you can't fail. And fail is first attempt in learning. That's what fail means in America. Right. It's like, go. Oh, you started a business and it failed? Good on you.
Yeah,
what are you
try again.
Yes. So AI is actually, I think, much more likely to help, the West than the East for the time being.
Right. I do agree with that fail. I'm sure my son will kill me, but he thought he was going to he graduated from Alabama. I mean, we might as well talk about our kids. Roll Tide. And he then went to Penn State for a 1-year MBA program. And he was like, I'm going to get a job without any of my family's help, but no one's help. And so as we all know, that's probably the worst thing that you can do. So he got a job at a company and he had got an offer, was super excited, had to take all the financial testing to, Series 760, whatever it is. And since I'm such a good mom, I know exactly all those details of those tests. And, so we passed 2 of the 7 tests. And as he's taking that, at 1 a month, we were passing. So, now we're month 3 and he comes to me and goes, Mom, I don't like this.
Yeah, that's okay.
I go, okay. He's like, are you disappointed? Are you mad that I just wasted 3 months? And I go, well, better 3 months than 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, awesome. Did we decide we don't like it? Have we are we throwing the towel in on that? He's like, I think I don't like it. I think I'm going to start fresh again. And I was like, great, let's go. Who do you want to, and he goes, and I think I might need your help this time. I go, great. Who do you want to talk to?
Right.
Who do you want to talk to?
That's good.
I was like, I'm part of you. Like, who do you want to talk to?
Good mommy. I have so many friends who became lawyers and practiced for a month and a half, like, or 6 months or a year, and like, oh my Lord, I hate this.
Yes.
And every one of them has done really well because the critical thinking that they were taught in law school helped them be better decision makers and leaders. So nothing is lost. I have a son who's in medical school, and he called me a few times to, uh, lament how all his friends were making bank, and he was studying, literally 14 hours a day. Like, he is really working hard. And my answer was always the same. Like, yeah, do you know where your car keys are? He goes, yeah, they're on the counter. I go, well, okay, well, you know where your car keys are. Get in the car and go somewhere else. Like, drive. This is your life. You got the wheel. Whatever you want to do, dude. I love you. I support you. It's your adventure. Do whatever you want. And I tell him and my other son, all the things they're going through are just like part of the treasure hunt. The parenting paradox is this: we don't want our kids to suffer because we love them, but it is the suffering that makes them extraordinary. So sometimes a little bit of a lump or two on their head, the story I'm telling myself is, gosh, that's hard to watch, but I sure hope it makes them more extraordinary as a human.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. So who do you admire?
Who do I admire? This is a weird answer. I admire WYSIWYGs. What you see is what you get. Early in my career, I was attracted to people that were kind of puppy doggish, like they were still the same person that I knew when they were 8 or 9 or 10, and they seemed to still believe they could change the world, and they were perfectly okay with themselves, even if they couldn't dance or sing or draw. They thought they could, and they were perfectly okay walking into any room and just being themselves. And I've noticed that some people call it star quality. I call it what you see is what you get. That you will walk into some companies and there are leaders that are the same person, whether they're in front of the board or they're in front of their buddies from college or they're in front of their kids. They're WYSIWYGs. What you see is what you get. I admire people that are comfortable enough in their own skin. They have high integrity and character, and they lead with both heart and head. They're what you see is what you get people.
Yes. Authentic.
And you, as I was describing that, and as your listeners were hearing that, every one of us was like, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Those are the people I admire.
Yeah, I love that. I love that answer. That's a fabulous answer, Mike. Fabulous, fabulous answer.
Thanks.
So you have a great profession, and I'm sure you could pick any profession that you want. Is there any profession, being a serial entrepreneur, is there any profession that you haven't tried that you have an itch to try?
Well, I was hired as an editorial cartoonist when I was 24 for the Pioneer Press to be the editorial cartoonist for all their newspapers. At the time, it was a pretty big operation. I always have liked cartooning and drawing, and I kind of get away from it. I think about maybe doing that again, but we'll see.
So funny, when I wrote Crazy Lucky Girl, Do You Have the Keys to Success? The front cover is a caricature cartoon. So, and that's what it is through the book, because I like that whimsical type of thing too. So what piece of advice do you use all the time?
Oh gosh, my kids will tell you that I'm always giving them unsolicited advice. So so there are lots of pieces of advice. One of the questions I like asking leaders, CEOs in particular, is if they or their team are relying on, is it time for more grit or quit? Like, is it grit or quit? And I think if we think about what has made us successful, many of us are just gritted out. Like, I'm going to work harder and longer and faster, and nobody is going to outwork me. No one's going to like that is our key to success. And unwittingly, we create a trap for ourselves where we wind up burning out. Our families and friends suffer because we're so focused on that failing. It's all about grit. And I have noticed that many of my happiest and most successful friends are much better at quitting than gritting. In other words, they get to a point where it's like, nope, not putting up with that. Like really quickly, I'm not going to make money at that. I'm killing it. Dude, you just started it 2 months ago. Yeah, it's a loser. I'm quitting. And, it takes me, like my friend, Mike McAllowitz, called me one day and said, hey, Mike, you're going to fly that plane into the side of a mountain, crawl out of the wreckage, make sure a couple people are still alive before you ever stop what you're doing, aren't you? And I go, yep. And you know what? I did, because I was way better at gritting than quitting. So should you be thinking about grit or thinking about quit right now is a fun thing.
That's great. That's great. So what's in the future for Mike?
For Mike? Well, Mike is going to talk about himself in third person in the future. Nothing but Mike. It's all about Mike. My purpose is to connect people and possibility. What I love about Flourish Advisory Boards is I get to kind of be a hub and spoke for all of these people that are running amazing businesses, and I see them help each other be better leaders, better friends, better people, and their businesses grow. So my vision is to have hundreds of leaders who can lean into each other with the things that are keeping them up at night, both good and bad, and just make each other better. And I want to be part of that.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, I've so enjoyed getting to know you today, spending some time with you, chatting. You've imparted such wealth of information to our audience, to everyone who listens to Grab Your Keys. And I am so grateful and thankful to have gotten to know you better. And I love that the Entrepreneurs Organization does bring entrepreneurs together. And I love Flourish Advisory allows people and CEOs to get together to talk about, what keeps them up at night. If there's ever anything I can help you with, I'm only a telephone call away. And I appreciate all of your time today. So thank you so much.
Sue, it's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you. I appreciate you as well.
Thank you. So everyone, share, like, and listen to everything that was said on this call. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Grab Your Keys.